This video comes together like a three-piece puzzle. Three seemingly unrelated things that happen, but which gave me an important insight and changed my behavior. The first puzzle piece involves something I learned on my very first flight lesson. The second puzzle piece cropped up when I happened to see an accident video on YouTube last week. Still didn't put the puzzle together though, until I just happened to reread a section of my plane's pilot operating handbook. That filled in the third puzzle piece for me. The date is July 8th, 1964, and I get my very first flight lesson. The place was Grannis Field in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and my instructor was Harold Revis. The airplane was a 1958 Cessna 172 equipped with a Continental 0300 145 horsepower engine. I was taught the pre-flight inspection, including the need to drain the sumps before flight. I was taught to look for three things: contaminants in the sample, water in the sample, and the proper color for the sample. Now at that time, the avgas was an 80-octane red-colored fuel. It was explained to me that water can be introduced into the fuel several ways, including having a condensation develop in the tank overnight during cold air. This lesson has stuck with me, and I'm still a fanatic about draining the sump each and every time before flight. Last week I was relaxing and tuned into some YouTube videos. I came across one from Pilot Debrief, a channel I subscribe to. This is a case of an accident brought on by an engine issue. The engine in question is a Rotax 912 ULS, similar to but not the same as my engine. I fly the Rotax 912 IS, but I wanted to see what caused the engine problem. So I'm going to summarize the results of the NTSB report. Fuel contamination clogged up the float chamber of the carburetor. Now my Rotax doesn't have a carburetor since I'm fuel injected, but it does occur to me that my injectors can still be subject to problems when foreign matter gets in there. Well, it's a really good thing that I'm so religious about draining my sump before every flight. Normally I leave my pilot's operating handbook in the airplane since it's required to be there during flight, but last week I brought it home. I settled down to thumb through it since it's been about a year since I read it cover to cover. That's when the third piece of the puzzle hit me upside the head. Let me explain. We have a self-service fuel pump at my airport. I usually top off the tank after a flight and then hop in and do the taxi to the hangar. I'm only driving the plane about a quarter of a mile or so to get to the hangar, so no big deal. But as I read the pilot operating handbook, I was struck by the instructions in this red box. Drain the sump after refueling. Now I haven't been doing that. It's great that I drain the sump before flight, but if a contaminant or water was introduced during the last refueling, it has likely already been sucked into the engine during my taxi to the hangar. It may not show up right away, but over time it could lead to a similar engine problem like the other pilot experienced. So, lesson learned. From here on out, I'm going to use the minute or two that it takes to allow the fuel to settle down and then draw a sample before I turn on the boost pumps and drive away. Before I end the video, I like to show some aircraft that have visited my home airport. This is one of my favorites, the Aerostar. Originally designed and built by Ted Smith, the same fellow who designed the Aero Commander twins, the company was later bought out by Piper. Now this airplane is a speed demon with speeds ranging from 220 knots to 260 knots depending on equipment. And they say it can climb on one engine, and that's really rare for a twin in this class. I never flew in one, but I can only admire it from a distance. What's that? Oh, here comes a medevac helicopter. And finally today we have this Honda jet taking off. Well, be sure to stick around and see what our next video serves up. I hope to see you then.